Hello, this is Dr. Luxor, aka the Guru Shivah Solomon. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the nature of the mind as part of continuation of our rational relationship and basically religion of psychology and philosophy. So I came up with this concept when I was studying for 10 years and creating my psychological models, which are referred to as the averseness of the mind, which is to say that the mind is averse, which means that the mind is 90% more against the problem than it is for the solution or towards the solution. The nature of the mind is to react against. And this pattern, this instinct of the mind has to be overcome. The less self-conscious you are, the less self-aware you are, the stronger that instinct is in you. What this means is that until you become a philosopher, until you learn to remove the ego consciousness, the false sense of self, until you understand every logical fallacy and every cognitive bias from yourself, you can't prevent yourself from reacting and acting against and being averse, which means that hardwired into your very instinct, your very nature, is a self-sabotaging instinct to attack the problem or the thing that you don't like. Imagine for a second that your brain, when you are born, is a perfect bubble floating in the air. A perfectly round bubble floating in the air. Now, what happens over time is that whenever something presses on your brain, whenever any force exerts itself on your brain, should your brain become irritated by it, your brain will reshape itself to be against the thing that irritates and or irritated it. Now there is a fascinating loophole in the averseness of the nature of the mind, which is to say that the mind is not aware of every force that acts on it. So there can be some forces that act on your brain which your brain does not perceive as annoying or irritating, and therefore it does not become averse to those forces. And not every force that acts on your brain is a harmful or negative influence or an irritating influence. So you have some influences that act on your brain, on your mind, on your sense of self, and they're beneficial, but your brain categorizes them as irritating and reacts against them. And there are other forces that act on your brain which are negative, but your brain doesn't perceive them as being irritating and therefore doesn't react against them. Which is why, in order to be a rational person, you have to be aware of every logical fallacy and every cognitive bias and be constantly aware as to whether you are making them. Namaskaram.